An American in Paris was written in 1928 by George Gershwin. We found a 1929 recording that George himself had participated in. American in Paris is probably more popular today than it was even in George's lifetime. There are about 100 performances a year of An American in Paris by orchestras all around the globe. The big surprise is that the way people have been interpreting this notation in the score doesn't actually match what George does on the recording. The thing that's getting people really excited is our discoveries about the taxi horns. We hear different notes than we have heard traditionally. This is a great story. I mean, George wanted to sort of give the sense of what it was like to be in Paris, sort of the energy and the excitement of the city. And part of it he brings in is the sounds of the streets by actually buying these taxi horns from different shops. There's unfortunately an ambiguity in the score, right? So over the taxi horns, which are just written to the percussion line, it's an unpitched line, it looks like a snare drum part, something where you don't have pitches. And he writes the letters A, B, C, and D over those rhythmic mottos and then circles them. So since the 1940s, musicians have assumed that those letters correspond to the note names that we see on the piano keyboard, A, B, C, and D. But I think they're really just labels. They're really just numbers. He had 4 horns. He put a little sticker on one. This is horn A, this is horn B, this is horn C, this is horn D. Handed them to the percussionists and said, when it says A, play that one. When it says D, play that one. And it doesn't correspond to the pitches because what we hear on this recording are actually 4 different pitches. George didn't write anything in his score. There's no instructions because he assumed that he was going to be there. Certainly his handwritten score assumed that. He died in 1937 at the age of only 38. And so at that time, this sort of connection to his oral instructions and this tradition was broken. And so it's in the 1940s when we start getting these modern recordings that everybody goes with this now traditional version of the taxi horn pitches. You know, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. We see 4 horns, but they're radically different sizes. There's a really big fat horn and there's a tiny little horn, and that just shows the more varied pitches that we hear in the 29 recording, as opposed to this traditional way of playing, 4 notes of a scale. And this picture just is really solid evidence that the way we've been playing it for the last 70 years is wrong.